The state orphanage sat on the edge of town, institutional, gray, the kind of building that looked like exactly what it was, a place for children nobody wanted, or children who'd lost everyone who wanted them. Lillian Montgomery stood in the director's office reviewing paperwork, 46 years old, CEO of Montgomery Pharmaceuticals, $11 billion. She wore white, an elegant suit, expensive. Everything about her screamed control, power, distance. She was here for the annual inspection. The Montgomery Foundation donated significant funds to this orphanage, tax write-offs, good publicity, charitable works that looked impressive in board reports. Lillian came once a year, reviewed programs, checked facilities, signed checks, left. She never stayed long, never got close, never connected. "Everything seems in order," she said to the director, clipboard in hand, professional, efficient. "The new wing is progressing?" "Yes, Miss Montgomery, thanks to your foundation's generosity. Would you like a tour?" "Brief one. I have a meeting at 3. They walked through hallways, classrooms, dormitories, everything clean, adequate, sad in the way institutions are always sad, children without families, structure without love. They passed a playroom. Lillian glanced in and stopped. A man knelt on the floor, black, maybe early 40s, white shirt, yellow volunteer badge clipped to his pocket. He was signing, hands moving rapidly, expressively, beautiful. And across from him, a little girl, maybe 7, blonde, pink dress, watching his hands with complete focus, signing back, animated, joyful. The contrast was stark. Most of the orphanage felt gray, lifeless, but this corner, this moment, was alive. "Who is that?" Lillian asked. The director followed her gaze. "Oh, that's Declan Shaw, retired police officer, volunteers here, security mostly, but he spends most of his time with that girl, Harlow Reed. She's deaf." "He knows sign language," Lillian observed. "Fluent, apparently, learned it for police work years ago, and he's been learning more since Harlow arrived, visits her every single day, never misses, been about 6 months now." "Every day?" "Every single one. Birthdays, holidays, weekends, doesn't matter. He shows up, sits with her, signs, reads, plays. That girl lights up when he arrives. It's the only time she seems happy, honestly." Lillian watched a moment longer. The child, Harlow, signed something that made the man laugh. He signed back. She grinned, bright, genuine, safe. "Why?" Lillian asked. "Why does he visit so consistently?" The director lowered her voice. "He was first responder the night her parents died. Car accident. Both parents killed instantly. Harlow was in the back seat, trapped, scared. Deaf, so she couldn't hear the sirens or the rescuers calling to her. Declan was the one who found her, held her until paramedics could extract her, stayed with her at the hospital. And I guess he just couldn't let her go after that. Felt responsible. He's a good man." Lillian nodded slowly, watched a moment longer, then continued the tour. But she couldn't stop thinking about what she'd seen, that moment of connection, of devotion, of someone showing up, consistently, for a child who wasn't his, who'd lost everything. It stayed with her, days later, weeks later, months later, and she started finding excuses to return. Subscribe to Becca's Stories to witness moments where quiet devotion builds families and consistency creates miracles. 2 weeks later, Lillian returned to the orphanage, not for an inspection, for a follow-up meeting, something she'd never done before. The director looked surprised but pleased. "Miss Montgomery, I wasn't expecting you." "I had some questions about the new wing. Thought I'd drop by." A lie. She had no questions. She wanted to see if the man was still coming, if the visits were real, consistent, or just a temporary guilt-driven gesture. She found an excuse to walk past the playroom again, same time of day as her last visit, and there he was, Declan Shaw, white shirt, yellow badge, kneeling beside Harlow. They were reading together. He signed every word, acted out characters, made her laugh. Harlow's face was transformed from the withdrawn, scared child Lillian had glimpsed in other parts of the orphanage to this, animated, engaged, loved. Lillian watched from the doorway, unnoticed, and something in her chest ached. She returned 3 weeks later, then 2 weeks after that, always with some excuse, always finding a reason to pass that playroom, and every single time Declan was there, with Harlow, never missing, never cutting visits short, never treating it like an obligation. He looked at that deaf child like she mattered, like she was worth every single moment he gave her. 4 months into her irregular visits, Lillian timed her arrival for an orphanage event, a small assembly, kids performing songs and skits for staff and volunteers. She sat in the back, observing. Most children had someone in the audience, a social worker, a volunteer, someone cheering for them. Harlow sat alone on the far edge. She couldn't participate in the songs, couldn't hear the music, couldn't follow the rhythm, so she just sat, watching, separate. Lillian felt the isolation from across the room, saw it in the child's posture, the way she hunched small, tried to be invisible. Then the side door opened. Declan entered, late, probably came straight from work. He scanned the room, found Harlow, walked directly to her. Didn't sit in a chair, sat on the floor beside her, at her level. Signed, "I'm here. You're not alone." Harlow's transformation was immediate. She sat up, smiled, signed back rapidly, relief, joy, safety. For the rest of the assembly, Declan interpreted, signed what was being sung, explained what was happening, made her part of it, included. And Harlow watched the performance engaged, present, no longer isolated. Lillian watched them and felt tears she couldn't explain, didn't understand, hadn't felt in years. This stranger, this retired police officer, showing up for a deaf orphan, making her feel seen, valued, loved. When the assembly ended, Lillian approached him, direct, unable to hold back her curiosity anymore. "Excuse me, Mr. Shaw?" He turned, stood, respectful. "Yes, ma'am." "I'm Lillian Montgomery, the foundation director. I've noticed you visit Harlow quite regularly." Recognition crossed his face. "Miss Montgomery, yes, I do. She's a special kid. The staff says you've never missed a visit, 6 months now, every single day." Declan nodded. "That's correct." "Why?" He looked surprised by the directness. "Because she needs someone. She's alone, scared, deaf in a hearing world where most people don't sign. She needs consistency, someone who shows up, who sees her." "You're not family, not obligated." "No," Declan agreed, "but I was there the night her parents died. I held her. She was terrified, trapped in that car, couldn't hear me trying to calm her, so I learned some basic signs, told her she was safe, that I had her, and when they brought her here afterward, I couldn't just walk away. She'd already lost everyone. I couldn't be one more person who left." Lillian studied him. "You learned sign language for her?" "I knew some already, police work, crisis negotiation, deaf community outreach, but I'm learning more now, advanced ASL, so I can really communicate, so she doesn't have to exist in silence, alone." "That's remarkable." Declan shrugged. "It's just showing up, being consistent. She deserves that much." "Most people wouldn't," Lillian said quietly. "Most people would visit once, maybe twice, feel like they'd done their duty, then move on with their lives." "I'm not most people," Declan said simply. Then, after a pause, "and I know what it's like to lose everything, to be the one left behind. I couldn't save my wife or my baby, but maybe I can show up for this little girl who lost her parents. Maybe that's enough." Lillian blinked. Your wife? Died 5 years ago, childbirth. The baby, our son, didn't make it either. Complications. I was there, held her, couldn't save them, lost both in one night. His voice was steady, but the pain underneath was palpable, ancient, still raw. I'm sorry. I can't imagine. I was a crisis negotiator, Declan continued, trained to save people, to talk them down from ledges, to keep them alive, and I couldn't save my own family, so I quit after I got injured on duty 2 years ago, volunteered here, and when Harlow came, when I held her that night, her parents dead, her world shattered, I saw a second chance, not to replace what I lost, that's impossible, but to give what I couldn't give then. Presence, protection, consistency, love. Lillian couldn't speak. This man, this stranger, carrying his own unbearable grief, choosing to show up for a child who needed exactly what he needed to give. She's lucky to have you, Lillian finally managed. I'm lucky to have her. She's teaching me how to live again, how to love without fear, how to be present. She's the miracle, not me. Lillian returned to her office that afternoon, but she couldn't focus, couldn't work, kept thinking about Declan, about Harlow, about devotion and consistency and love. She thought about her own life, her late husband Theodore. They'd been married 18 years, good years, mostly, busy years. Theodore had wanted children. Lillian had said no, too busy. Too focused, career was priority, empire was being built. Theodore had accepted it, never pushed, supported her ambitions, loved her anyway. Then 4 years ago, he died, heart attack, sudden, at his desk, working late. She'd been at a conference in Europe, didn't even make it home before he was gone. And in the years since, she'd built the company even bigger, worked even harder, filled every moment with meetings and mergers and acquisitions, because if she stopped, she'd have to face the emptiness, the regret, the realization that she had everything except what mattered. She'd chosen the empire and lost the only person who'd ever loved her unconditionally. Now she was 46, alone, wealthy beyond measure, and profoundly, devastatingly empty. Watching Declan with Harlow made her ache, made her see what she'd missed, what she'd sacrificed, what she'd lost by always choosing work. Over the next months, Lillian visited the orphanage regularly, not for inspections, for, she didn't know, to witness, to observe, to understand what Declan had that she didn't, purpose, connection, love that transcended biology and obligation. She watched him teach Harlow new signs, read to her, play games adapted for deaf children, help with homework, patiently explaining concepts with visual demonstrations. She watched him show up for Harlow's birthday with a small cake, candles, signing happy birthday slowly so Harlow could feel celebrated, seen. She watched him attend every school event, sitting in the audience, signing encouragement, cheering silently with expressive hands that said everything words couldn't. And she watched Harlow bloom, from withdrawn and scared to confident and joyful, from isolated to connected, from abandoned to loved. It took a year, but eventually Harlow started signing something that broke Lillian's heart. My Declan. Not Declan, not the volunteer. My Declan. Possessive, protective, the way children claimed parents, the way love formed families. Lillian realized something. She wasn't just witnessing devotion, she was witnessing a family being built, slowly, patiently, consistently, through choice. And she wanted that, desperately. Wanted to be part of something that mattered, something beyond board meetings and profit margins and pharmaceutical empires. She wanted to belong, to connect, to love and be loved, but she didn't know how. 18 months after Lillian first saw Declan with Harlow, something changed. Declan filed for adoption to become Harlow's legal guardian, her father. The process was difficult, slow. The system didn't trust single men adopting deaf orphan girls. Too many questions, too many hoops, too much scrutiny. Financial stability, home environment, support systems, background checks, psychological evaluations. Declan endured it all, patiently, determinedly, because Harlow was already his daughter. This was just paperwork. But the social workers were skeptical. Why does a retired police officer want to adopt a deaf child? You're single, no wife, no biological children, no family support. Why take on these challenges? Because I love her, Declan said, every time. Because she needs me. Because I show up. Because I'm already her family. This just makes it legal. The court hearings were brutal. Lillian attended one, sat in the back, listened. Watched Declan defend his love, his consistency, his devotion. Watched social workers question his motives, his capability, his worthiness. And something in Lillian broke. This man, this beautiful, devoted man, being interrogated, being doubted, when he'd done nothing but show up for a child nobody else wanted. When the judge asked if anyone wanted to speak on Declan's behalf, Lillian stood. I do. Everyone turned, surprised. Lillian Montgomery rarely attended anything that wasn't business, and she never spoke publicly without preparation. She walked to the front, looked at the judge. I'm Lillian Montgomery, CEO of Montgomery Pharmaceuticals, and I've watched Declan Shaw visit Harlow Reed every single day for 18 months. Never missed a birthday, a holiday, a school event, or a medical appointment. I've watched him learn advanced ASL for her, adapt his home to be accessible, create stability, safety, and love that she desperately needs. She paused. He's not perfect, but he's devoted, and in my experience, devotion matters more than perfection. This child has been orphaned, abandoned by circumstance. She deserves a parent who shows up. Declan Shaw shows up, every day, without fail. Grant him custody. Let him be her father, because he already is. The courtroom was silent. Then the judge nodded. Thank you, Miss Montgomery. 2 weeks later, the decision came. Custody granted, adoption approved. Declan Shaw was legally Harlow Reed's father. Family formed, chosen, real. The day the adoption finalized, Lillian attended the small celebration at Declan's home. She'd never been invited before, but this time she was. She brought flowers, a gift for Harlow, a book about deaf heroes and pioneers, something to remind her that being deaf didn't limit her future. After the cake, after the hugs, after Harlow fell asleep exhausted from excitement, Declan found Lillian standing on his porch. Thank you, he said. For what you said in court, it mattered. I meant every word, Lillian replied. They stood in silence. Then Lillian took a breath, vulnerable, uncertain. Can I ask you something? Of course. Could you let me be part of this? Not as a donor, not as a benefactor, as family. I don't have children. I lost that chance when my husband died. I'd always said no, chosen career over motherhood, and now I have everything except what matters. Watching you with Harlow these past 18 months, I've seen what I missed, what I chose not to have, and I want to be present, if you'll let me, if Harlow will let me. I don't want to replace anyone. I just want to be here, part of this. Aunt, grandmother, friend, something, if you'll have me. Declan studied her. Why now? You're a billionaire CEO. You have an empire to run. An empty empire, Lillian said quietly. My husband Theodore wanted children. I refused, said we had time, said career came first. Then he died. And now I have all the time in the world and nobody to share it with. You showed me that money doesn't matter, success doesn't matter.
What matters is showing up, being present, loving people who need love. I want to learn how to do that, and I think maybe Harlow and you could teach me." Declan was quiet for a long moment. Then he smiled, gentle, knowing. "Let me ask Harlow. She's part of this family too. She gets a say." The next day, Declan signed the question to Harlow, carefully, fully, making sure she understood. Harlow thought about it, then signed back, "She's nice. She watches us. She cares. Can she stay?" Declan signed to Lillian. "She says yes, you can stay." Lillian cried, right there, in front of them both. Relief, gratitude, belonging. "Thank you," she whispered. "I promise I'll show up consistently like you taught me." "I know you will. That's why I'm saying yes."
Over the next 11 years, Lillian kept her promise. She showed up. Weekly dinners at Declan's home, school events, holidays, doctor's appointments, dance recitals. Harlow took adaptive dance classes for deaf children, graduations from middle school, high school. She didn't replace Harlow's mother, didn't try, just became a steady presence, an adult who showed up, who cared, who signed. She learned ASL too, slowly, imperfectly, but she learned. Declan raised Harlow with patience and devotion, taught her sign language fluently, integrated her into the deaf community, helped her navigate a hearing world that didn't always accommodate her, taught her strength, resilience, pride in who she was. Harlow thrived, confident, articulate, brilliant. She became an advocate, spoke, signed at schools about deaf awareness, educated hearing people about ASL, refused to be invisible or pitied. And Lillian, she transformed, slowly, painfully, beautifully. She reduced her work hours, prioritized family over board meetings, started a scholarship fund in Theodore's name for deaf students pursuing higher education, honoring the husband who'd wanted children, fulfilling that wish differently. The three of them, Declan, Harlow, Lillian, became family, not through blood, not through romance. Declan and Lillian never dated, never became a couple, just became friends, co-parents, chosen family. Some bonds don't need romance to be real, don't need biology to be binding, just need choice, consistency, love. And they had all three. 11 years after Declan adopted Harlow, she graduated from university. The auditorium was packed, families celebrating, degrees being conferred, futures beginning. Harlow Reed, now 18, blonde, beautiful, confident, sat with her graduating class. She wore her cap and gown, and on her lapel a small pin, the ASL sign for family. In the audience, Declan sat in the front row, 53 now, graying at the temples. He wore a dress shirt and a yellow tie. Yellow, the color of his volunteer badge all those years ago. The color Harlow associated with safety, with him. On his lapel, a small photo pin, Naomi, his late wife, always present, always honored. Beside him, Lillian, 57, elegant white dress, hair softer than it used to be, lined with age but radiant with purpose. She held a tissue, already crying, happy tears. On her dress, a small memorial pin, Theodore's initials, honoring the husband who'd wanted this, who'd wanted children, who was present now in the family Lillian had finally chosen to build. The announcements began. Graduates called one by one. Then, Harlow Shaw, valedictorian, ASL interpretation major, summa cum laude. The crowd erupted in applause. Harlow walked to the stage, confident, graceful, carrying herself like someone who knew she was loved, valued, seen.
She reached the podium, looked out at the audience, and began signing. An interpreter beside her voiced the words for hearing attendees. 11 years ago, I lost my parents in a car accident. I was 7 years old, deaf, alone, terrified. I was sent to a state orphanage where nobody knew sign language. Nobody understood me. Nobody saw me. The audience listened, rapt. Then a man showed up, a retired police officer, a volunteer. He'd been the first responder the night my parents died. He'd held me while I was trapped, while I was scared. And after that night, he never left. Harlow's hands moved with increasing emotion. Declan Shaw visited me every single day for 18 months in that orphanage. Birthdays, holidays, weekends. He learned ASL for me. Not basic signs, fluent ASL. He taught me I wasn't broken, just different, and different was strong. She paused, found Declan in the audience, and signed directly to him. You taught me to live in a world that doesn't always listen. You taught me that my voice, these hands, matter. You taught me that family isn't blood, it's choice, it's showing up, it's never missing a single moment that matters. Declan was crying openly now, not hiding it, not ashamed. Dad, you're not my biological father, but you're my real father, the one who chose me, who raised me, who loved me, who showed me every single day that I was worth showing up for. This degree, it's ours because you made it possible. The audience rose, a standing ovation, thunderous applause. Harlow waited for them to settle, then continued. And to Lillian Montgomery, who watched us from a distance for months, who could have stayed in her office, in her empire, in her safe, controlled world, but who chose instead to join us, to become part of our family, who learned ASL, who showed up to recitals and parent-teacher conferences and doctor's appointments, who became my grandmother, my mentor, my friend. Lillian sobbed, openly, beautifully. You showed me that it's never too late to choose family, to choose love, to choose presence. Thank you for seeing us, for staying. Harlow signed, I love you, first to Declan, then to Lillian, then to the whole audience. The entire auditorium signed back, thousands of hands moving in unison. We love you. It was the most beautiful thing Lillian had ever witnessed. After the ceremony, they gathered for photos on the university lawn. Harlow in her graduation gown, Declan on one side, Lillian on the other. Harlow signed to the photographer, "This is my family, the one that chose me, and the one I chose back. Best decision I ever made." The photo captured it. 3 people, different ages, different backgrounds, different losses, but the same love, the same choice, the same family. Declan's lapel showed Naomi's photo, honoring the wife he'd lost, the baby he'd never held. Lillian's dress showed Theodore's pin, honoring the husband who'd wanted children, the wish fulfilled differently. Harlow's cap was decorated with ASL symbols, honoring the language that had saved her, connected her, made her voice heard. And together, the 3 of them, they smiled, complete, whole, chosen. Family not because they had to be, but because they'd shown up, consistently, devotedly, lovingly, for 11 years, and for all the years to come.
Sometimes the greatest families are the ones we choose. The ones built not through biology, but through consistency, through showing up, through seeing someone, really seeing them, and deciding they're worth every moment, every visit, every lesson, every meal, every hug, worth choosing, worth loving, worth staying for. Because family isn't about blood, it's about presence. And presence, that's everything. Where are you watching from? Drop your city or country below. Subscribe so we keep finding these moments together.